school. It's supposed to be the time of your life.
How does she do that, James?
But for Louise Miller, high school was a living hell. From her first secret love
I could just die.
to her first blind date.
Nobody wants to date you because you're a dog. A dog! A dog!
I'm Dave, Miranda's cousin. Ready?
My life is a walking, talking tragedy.
Give me some soul kisses, baby.
I wish you would just leave me alone!
But just when nothing more could possibly go wrong,
It's you. You're one of us. Me? A witch?
something wonderful went right. Now she's possessed with special powers.
You can make anything happen. Break a leg, Kiki!
That are simply bewitching. She can make her worst teacher hot.
I will never be hit.
And her best friend cool.
Stop that. I don't really give a about trying to stop that.
Stop that!
Big deal.
Stop that!
Unreal.
You can try to, you blue.
I will make a fool of you. Stop that.
I want to be the most popular girl. You have the power to make anything you want to happen. Can I make him love me? Love you? With me being your coach, he's gonna become your love slave.
Everybody dreams, but Louise's dreams all come true.
Astroth, Barvos, Tetragrammaton, Theos, Ischinos, Arthetos. What? It's a new U2 song.
Teen Wich. Winning is a magical feeling.
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Welcome back. Pete,
Yes.
we got to this movie.
I mean, this is a hotly anticipated
It has.
movie. I have tons of people throwing their names in the ring.
Throwing their names
To
as
do-
guests,
to do
too.
this one.
We are sorry you were not included, but you can definitely join the fun on the posts and stuff. But
Absolutely.
I'm excited to talk about
Absolutely. Listeners, my name's Pete.
this. And I'm Scott,
And these are the movies that
made us gay.
Welcome.
Welcome to the show, Alex Steed from You're Good.
Thanks
the You're
for
Good
having
podcast. Welcome to the show.
Alex,
thanks
you're
for
very
having
welcome.
me. I feel so lucky to have secured this title.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, this movie is it's got a lot of people that are just so attached to it. So I feel like we're kind of in for a good episode today. Scott, do you want to talk a little bit about Teen Wich?
We watched Teen Wich, directed by Dorian Walker, written by Robin Menken and Vernon Zimmerman, released April 23rd, 1989, produced by Trans World Entertainment, which I was very fascinated with this production company. I was on their wiki looking at all of their titles.
Sure.
American independent production that specialized in low to medium budget films, mostly targeted at home video.
Low to medium budget.
Because here's
I
the
like
thing
that.
with this movie, as we were watching it, we were like, was this released in theaters? Because we weren't really sure.
Barely.
If this was mainly just a cable and home video thing, but it was released in theaters.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah,
like you
barely.
said. When we saw those numbers, we were like, "Oh my good, did this get pulled
I
after a
think
day?"
it might be the saddest return on a movie released in the theaters that I've ever seen or
Yeah,
am
it's-
aware of.
Right.
So,
it's low.
released April 23rd, 1989. Like I said, grossed $3,875,000 in its opening weekend at the box office, and only a little over $27,000 in its entire run. Which is kind of
what
impressive.
Kind of budget?
And I mean, I would imagine that this is probably.
I think it was like $7 million or something.
I mean, I would even say $2 to $3 million.
Sure.
Yeah,
This
I think it
movie
was
also-
2 to 3, and
okay.
clearly not a dollar went into marketing.
Sure. Well, and I know that they replaced producers at the end of productions, and they went in and reshot scenes, and they put in the musical numbers.
Oh,
So they had even fired producers off the movie.
So you're telling me these
And they brought
musical
in new
numbers
people.
that are completely organic to the plot and the story were not 100% there from the beginning? Wow.
I was also looking at the box office competition the weekend that this came
this
out.
is a hot weekend.
So we got Field of Dreams,
Yeah.
Kevin Costner smash hit of the late 80s, and Pet Sematary.
Oh, wow.
Mary Lambert's Pet Sematary, which, I mean, I guess kind of sucked all the air out of the room if you were looking for some sort of vaguely spooky movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Field of Dreams is one of those movies that when it came out, I'm like 10 or I'm like 11, and people, cousins, like family members would be like, "Oh, have you seen Field of Dreams?" And no. It's about baseball is always their follow-up, and I'm like, yeah, all the more reason
I gather.
I didn't watch it.
This is kind of why I'm surprised it did so poorly, and I truly just assume that they spent no money on marketing because you would think, like, up against those movies, like, this is a movie that was marketed, well, in theory, was for girls.
Yeah.
Counter-programming.
And you would think, based on that alone, that there would be some appetite for it, but it really feels like something, and knowing that they fired producers at the end makes a lot of sense. It feels just mismanaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also think the wheels were probably falling off the bus off of Trans World Entertainment in the late 80s, that maybe they just didn't really have the resources to put a lot of cash behind the release of Teen Wich.
Sure.
But yeah. Just to kind of start the show, what are our backgrounds with Teen Wich? Alex, do you first remember watching Teen Wich?
Yes. So, and I'm curious, this is a very specific way to have consumed and then had media influence you. I think this went, as soon as it didn't do well, it went straight to cable in one way or another. And specifically, it went to, I think, probably the Disney Channel.
Yep.
And I did not have the Disney Channel, but on one of those weeks where they like gave a free preview of the Disney Channel so that kids would harass their parents to try to get Disney, I saw it on that week. And it just went into my brain as a full text, lived there. I never saw it again. It just was like inside of me, and I absorbed sort of like, and it's very telling which elements of the movie I absorbed, but they just like lived in my brain and was like a companion piece of entertainment that fused to my consciousness. And then I wouldn't see it again until, well, I saw it after like the 30 Rock reference to it that Kenneth Purcell sings Top Hat in 30 Rock, and was like reminded of this thing that lived inside of me, and then finally pursued it again. So it just like lived in me for 25 years until I finally revisited.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing,
And
first of all.
if you would have known at the time to have the parents fire up the VCR to tape all of the movies off of the free preview weekend, I remember us doing that.
Yeah.
Is that if there was a weekend where Disney or HBO was doing a free preview, like you
just shove a tape in there and
you
let
put
it
the
roll.
gas in the VCR and you tape
let
whatever
it
you can.
rip. Yeah.
Just have it tape all day.
Yeah, I had so many movies taped in that way from Channel 11, the New York movie station, which like I don't know why we got that in Maine, but we did. And I taped so many movies from that. And I love now that you can just go on YouTube and find people who've taped, 2 to 6 hours of some channel and watch the movie with the commercials in it. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been watching off of YouTube The Price is Right from like the 70s.
Complete with commercials.
That's the best.
Yeah. Sometimes it's taped from the Game Show Network.
Yeah.
So there's commercials on there from like the early 2000s, which are still cool. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, give me a Duncan Hines 1979 like
It's time to make the donuts.
cake frosting commercial
I will take it.
for vanilla chiffon.
How far back does your awareness go of this? Did you experience it in real time, or was it later?
So I remember watching the Disney Channel as a child and seeing the bumper previews for Teen Wich, of when they would kind of cut together a 10-second preview of what the movie on Wednesday night was going to be. Sure. I remember seeing bits and pieces of Teen Wich, but I never watched this movie as a kid. I think I may remember seeing the video box at the video store and did not rent it. Pete, I want to say that we were first introduced. I don't know if you had seen this movie before We watched this at friend of the pod, Hiko's house.
Oh, okay.
Hiko's house, he did a movie night, and there was a bunch of girls over, and we were kind of taking votes of what movie are we going to watch, and all of the girls said Teen Wich.
Okay, so like you, Scott, I did hang around with a lot of. I had a lot of gal pals in elementary.
Bitches be loving Teen Wich,
and they love Teen Wich. Okay, so I remember Robin Lively kind of just being around and
kind of having a B-list fame.
So she was in like some Disney Channel movies, Not Quite Human and Not Quite Human 2, about the like robot boy. She was in The Karate Kid 3. I had an awareness of her, right? Yeah. And then this movie, I wasn't like running to see it when it first was released, but I know that I saw it in high school. I had a gal pal in high school that was very obsessed with it, specifically Top That. And I remember watching it and being like, this is bananas. What is this nonsense? Right. And not really appreciating it for like the camp and just being like, this is corny. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I was too cool for it in high school. Yeah. So then okay, now we're all grown and we can really appreciate, because the other thing about this is it's populated by characters that I remember. Like Randa is the sister in Monster Squad.
Oh, yes.
Is she the friend?
What?
Is she the friend?
No, Randa's the mean girl.
Okay.
The Randa's friend with the dark curly hair, not the girl that is in the play. The other one, not Kiki, but the other friend that like tells the truth with Randa.
Okay.
She is in Can't Buy Me Love.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Zelda Rubinstein.
Icon.
Yeah, of course.
Truly an icon.
Truly. And then Joshua John Miller was also like this face that I knew. Yeah.
I mean, didn't he do like, is it Near Dark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he do Near Dark like the year before Teen Wich? Which is wild.
Yeah.
And his character is so great in Near Dark. His character is so good here. Like, he's the best version of the annoying little brother from these movies, which was like a whole thing. But like in the other movies, like that kid's usually like horny for some reason. That kid's like usually like a horny 9-year-old.
Right.
And in this movie, he's like he actually reminds a lot of Eugene Merman in Bob's Burgers. Like that's the character he's playing in this movie.
Okay, I can see that. I can see Gene.
I also love when child actors get to be crazy in movies, which you don't see a lot. It's very John Waters of just letting a little boy just be crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Eating cake under a bed, like that's our intro. I love it.
Out of the full pink bakery box, this shit, some of the decisions are so bananas. Like, okay, yes, he broke into her bedroom while she was sleeping. Yes, he's reading her diary under her bed. And yes, he brought in a full cake in the pink box from the bakery, and he's eating it, I'm pretty sure, with his hands.
Yeah.
And it serves a purpose, because that's how, veteran actor of kids movies Shelley Berman ends up with the chapter from her diary that he ends up reading.
Yeah, it's got to get stuck to her homework so that she can. Yeah, so it's a setup and it's a payoff. It's like James Cameron wrote this script. You guys,
this script of Teen Wich should be taught in film writing classes.
Yeah. So the thing is, for me, I should have been a lot more attached to it because of all these people that were involved that I love from other projects. I mean, down to, is it Dick Sargent or is it Dick York? Dick's her father. It's Dick Sargent.
The second husband on Bewitched.
He's Darren number 2.
He's the gay one.
He's Darren number 2. Yes, he's the gay one. And so that's another thing that my sister and I watched Bewitched as kids. So I feel like I should have been just like, yes, this movie is fucking killing it.
This late in life child. These late in life children.
The mom's not that old. The dad,
he an old man.
Yeah. Dad was. I did the math. I think Dad was like 50 when she was born.
All right. Not too crazy, but
no, but for this time, I feel like it was. Yeah. Now it's like you just have, like 45-year-old barista dads.
Oh,
like that's just like a regular thing that happens.
Yeah, but now 45-year-olds look 30.
That's true.
He looked 78 in this movie, and I understand.
So old, and the mom is. I also just like he's like kind of involved, and the mom is checked out.
What is the mom's deal? She is. The mom is just like hepped up on goofballs. I don't know what's going on with her. She's just checked out is part of it. She just completely does not know what's going on. But so I feel like this movie. So I should have had more of a reverence for it.
Same.
Didn't, because I just thought I was too cool because I was already a teenager at that point. But then when we did start watching it again, and then of course like How Did This Get Made has covered this, and it's just, I don't know. There's something about it that's like, it does, obviously it's a little low rent, whatever. But there's just something compelling about it because it's so insane.
I think there's something compelling about the actors that are taking this very mediocre script and kind of knocking it out of the park.
Totally.
Especially like the character of the best friend of that. I'm like seeing her line deliveries of this actress and I'm being like, all right, you better work. Like you're kind of selling the shit out of this,
you're talking about
the script.
Mandy Ingber as Polly. We love Polly. It's great.
This movie made such an impact on me that Taylor Swift is dating that football player. And everyone, every weekend that there's a game, they post like some pictures of Taylor Swift watching from the box. And I was frustrated that no one let me know that at one point she was watching alongside Robin Lively. I was like, this...
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, I mean, she's besties with Blake, so it makes sense. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I saw Robin Lively in Silver Lake the other day. Like, I walked past her and was like... Teen Wich. Which is probably her legacy. That's what she lives with.
I mean, yeah. It is what it is. Robin Lively, who in late 2023 looks great.
Yeah, she looks incredible.
Fantastic.
Yeah. She's fully serving. Robin Lively, listeners, in case you're not familiar, half sister of Blake Lively. So
the best actress of the aughts.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to see someone show up in a scene like they just ran to the scene and they're like winded for kind of no reason the entire scene? Blake Lively's your gal.
Oh my God. Did Robin have? I mean, I know Cobra Kai is bringing like everybody out of the woodwork to be in that. I'm trying to see if she did a stint on that. Does not look like Robin has yet to be on Cobra Kai, but. Oh, wait, I'm kidding. I'm lying. She did an episode.
Okay.
She reprised her role as Jessica Andrews.
Do you remember reading the quote from Hilary Swank of that? She was kind of just like, well, I'll do it. Like, no one's asked me.
To come on Cobra Kai. They're like, we'll
Did
never
they think she was above it? Were they like, we're not
I think that they just didn't even put an offer out to her because they thought that she would say no. But I think I read a quote with her saying that, I'll do it.
That's great. I love that. I love that about her.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, I guess we should give a little breakdown of what's going on in this movie. I do want to talk about the idea of this kind of being a little bit of a semi-franchise with Teen Wolf.
Well, the idea was they were going to make a girl version of Teen Wolf. And then it just kind of evolved into this standalone kind of Sabrina the Teenage Witch knockoff.
Sure.
But yeah, the idea was a girl version of Teen Wolf.
But I like that idea, and that maybe if this worked, would this have spawned other just like teen...
Other teen witches?
Well, not other teen... Well, maybe other teen witches, but also just like... Okay, we had Teen Wolf, now we have Teen Witch, then we have like, I don't know, do we go like Teen Frankenstein, or do we go like just...
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the
Teen
80s
Ninja.
was... The 80s was rich in that. Like you mentioned Monster Squad earlier. Like there was kids and monsters, it was happening. And then the 90s kind of picks it up. You said Sabrina, but then also, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie comes out a couple years after this. So it was a great formula.
Yeah, The Craft is 6 years later.
Oh, yeah. Put kids in monster movies. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
And then like blend it with teen drama.
Well, I mean, I guess that's coming back with Lisa Frankenstein next year.
Sure. But hey, you know, we're talking about Cobra Kai and reboots. Teen Wolf had a very successful run with its MTV, you know, reboot series.
yeah.
Where is our Teen Wich, like, gritty 2020 remake?
I want the Hulu series.
Come on, I want a full series of Teen Wich. They could do it for Teen Wolf. They can do it for this.
Is there a new Sabrina series? There must be.
There was one on Netflix.
The Netflix.
Oh, there's nothing. It just went away.
They did. I mean, Netflix.
Well, they did their 4 seasons.
Netflix has a thing where they
4
do
seasons.
They do 4 seasons, and they're kind of shorter seasons, and then they call it good.
Did Chilling Adventures get 4 seasons or just 3?
I think it got 4.
Yeah.
I watched everything until the last season of Sabrina.
It's one of those spooky.
Well, it goes hard in the occult.
Well, it goes hard in the occult, but
Love it.
but it's one of those like streaming like Netflix shows that it's so dark that you have to watch it in a room with blackout curtains,
And you can't watch it during the day.
or else you will not be able to.
I don't even try to watch movies anymore before 7 p.m. Like I know that like a reasonable person who has like a regular life like doesn't watch movies before 7 p.m. But I would love to. And I can't because like I'm like it's a 50-50 shot as to whether or not I'll be able to see what's on my screen. And I know that that's such a common complaint now, but it's ridiculous.
But it's true. It's absolutely accurate.
You'll be in New York sitting on the bed.
just waiting. Yeah.
Just waiting. Just seeing your reflection.
Exactly.
And I'm not changing my settings. I'm not upping the brightness. I'm not doing that every time. So
no, I'll like occasionally just like laptop and blanket over me so I can see what's going on. But yeah, at some point they were just like, you know what? They don't have to see it. It's fine.
Yeah. So if we do get a Teen Wich gritty reboot, I'm imploring the producers. This movie is it's a very sunny witch movie.
This movie takes place in the day, the whole time.
Yes,
There's like one nighttime scene where she has to walk and find Zelda Rubinstein, but like it's a daytime movie, which I like. Which, you know, to contrast, Buffy, the movie, I love that movie takes place all during the night, which is great too.
Oh,
but they lit it.
Sure, absolutely.
They did light it, and we appreciate that.
Well, I mean, the Buffy movie from '93 is more like if this type of movie probably had the studio resources to be cool, it would end up like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I guess that we got cheer numbers in Buffy, so I guess that's just as good as a musical sequence.
Oh my god!
It's just as good as I Like Boys.
Yeah. Oh my god, I Like Boys.
What a number.
Well, before we get into that, this movie starts off with a pretty insane opening.
Okay, so you're really good at stuff like this. This song that plays,
right?
Who is this a knockoff of? Like, who are they trying to be?
I mean, it's kind of giving
like Lisa.
It's kind of giving like freestyle, like 80s freestyle, little like expose. I feel like
before you see anything on screen, black screen, saxophone, like that's the first sense that is tickled is the sax just blasts at you.
Yeah, I mean it's a good solo. I mean we do find out that this is a dream sequence, right? But before you figure out that this is a dream sequence, it's like, what the shit? Okay. the one of the main plot points of this movie is that our main character, our teen witch, Louise Miller, one of her big like character beats is that she was accelerated a grade, right? So she's younger than everybody in her high school. And, you know, we get characters like looking at her and like, are you even in high school? And like, she says things like, people treat me like a little girl and, you know, all this stuff. Robin Lively, you know, in these outfits,
young woman,
looks very mature.
I
early
did not
20s.
Understand the "Are you even in high school" joke because she looks same age, if not older, than most people in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, our lead boy, Brad. I mean, I don't know that I'll ever be able to pronounce his last name. Gauthier.
Discount Tom Cruise. We just refer to him as
Discount Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
He's another one of these actors that has kind of been in everything. You know, he did an episode on Friends. He's just kind of been all over the place.
He's the boyfriend in Son-in-Law. That's what I always know him from.
There you go, son.
Pauly Shore's son-in-law.
But I never saw Discount Tom Cruise when I looked at him, and everybody now kind of says that, and I never really got
I can
it.
see it.
Yeah, you always refer to him as Discount Tom Cruise, but I guess I can see it now. But he's another one that looks 33.
Oh,
in
yeah.
this
The
movie.
men in this movie, men.
Yeah, man.
It's just men. It's like,
Yeah.
and I understand it was a joke forever. 90210, everyone was 30, but
Sure.
this high school is populated by men and women.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so bringing it back a little bit to Louise Miller, our main Teen Wich here.
The titular Teen Wich.
Our titular Teen Wich. So she is younger than everybody else, yet it seems like her best friend Polly is in the same school with her. So I don't know, maybe Louise is a junior and should be a fresh. I don't know. It's unclear.
Yeah. No idea.
It's unclear. But we have we set up that she's friends with Polly, and the two of them, I like their style at the beginning of the movie, or Polly's style throughout. Right? We see that across the street lives Randa, the popular girl, the sister from Monster Squad, who's dating Brad. And
who they marry in real life. Sorry to interrupt.
What?
But
really?
They married right after this movie came out and are still married.
Oh, wow. Good for them.
Oh, I love that. That's
Randa and
Brad. Oh,
Brad.
my God. Lisa Fuller, 1990. Wow.
Apparently, Lisa Fuller is also in Baby Boom.
You better work, Lisa
Okay.
Fuller. But I love when they Randa walks out of her house, and she's wearing it's like a funky. I wouldn't say it's school appropriate, but it's not school inappropriate. It's just like fashion.
It's like a jean skirt, right?
It's a denim skirt. It's yoked. It's got like tears. It's like a whole situation, very 80s. But Polly says something about her outfit. I forgot what she calls it, but she says she says something. I'm like, all right, that's a little harsh, girl. It's just a little fashion. I think she says something like, "Oh God," I'm not going to remember the line, but she says something kind of rude about it. I'm like, all right, let's reel it in a little bit here. Maybe Randa's a bitch, but damn. Okay, so the other thing is about this movie, Louise Miller, she's our Teen Wich, and I kind of, in Teen Wolf, the whole thing is like, hey, guess what? You're a werewolf because your family are werewolves.
His dad reveals it to him on his 16th. Yeah. It's always on the 16th birthday.
And his dad, when we turn and get his dad as a wolf, it shocks me every time.
Every time.
I'm like, oh, geez. It is. Yeah, no lead up. Just he's a wolf now.
Yeah, jarring. Super weird. And so in this one, I'm thinking, is it going to be, and maybe that was too much like Sabrina, where they're like, oh, hey, FYI, your whole family are witches, and so are you. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be, and we're going to teach it to you, and you're going to become a witch. In this one, it's kind of like if she didn't stumble onto the Thriller house and meet Madame Serena, I don't know.
She starts to notice that she has she's it's like a little weird that she has some power of suggestion stuff, but I don't know that it would ever get explained in a real way to her unless there's some alignment happening that she ends up at that house. And this is speaking of the Teen Wolf versus Teen Wich thing, this is the thing that really speaks to me about the theme of your show is Teen Wolf was interesting to me because it was Teen Wolf, right? It was a big movie. It was fun. It was ridiculous.
Michael J. Fox.
But the idea of being around, Styles creeped me out. The idea of just basketball.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, nothing about this is appealing to me. And then when we get this girl who just really wants to dress well, I was like,
on board.
Yeah.
And she just is hanging out with her friends and wants to be liked by other girls. I was like, I don't want to hang out with basketball guys. And then I saw this and I was like, this tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love too when she does kind of have one of her major big reveals of like, I'm sneaking out of the house, I'm wearing this like nerdy outfit, and then we're going to go to this dance. She doesn't use any witchy powers. She just brought extra clothes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, anybody could
Relatable.
Totally. She just planned for the occasion.
Yeah, she just planned ahead. Yeah.
She was able to somehow tease out that hair leaving the bathroom. Too.
Well, I mean, that maybe she used her witchy powers to like.
Can we talk about how kind of hot the nerd is?
Oh my
Like,
God! I
would totally fuck this nerd.
absolutely, and then I
Yep.
agree.
And he kind of
showed
has game,
up, I
too.
was like, well, yes. When he showed up, I was like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah.
And then they mixed the stereotypes so hard because eventually he wants to like smoke weed with her, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, that's cool." And
Yeah.
then I was like, "Is he a burnout or is he a nerd? Like, where are we?" But he looks fantastic.
He looks like Justin Theroux.
They've got that cute. They have that cute pompadour going on too.
Yeah, he looks like Justin Theroux. He's got cool glasses. I mean, his outfit is like, okay, they do show us some nerds earlier in the movie, and they are Saved by the Bell
nerds.
Open up the dictionary, look up nerd, Spirit Halloween, like tape on the glasses, like all of that, right? And there's a boy and a girl, and the girl too is very like background extra in Grease, just like, what are we doing here? It's 1989. And his clothes and this is listeners, Randa's cousin. Oh, is this part a witchy thing too that Randa get, or is this Randa being an asshole? Like this, go on a date with this.
Oh, it's her being an
Piece of
asshole.
shit,
She's
right?
trying to give
Yeah.
him the dud who's
Yeah.
secretly hot.
Okay, that's right. He's a dud because he's a nerd.
Yeah. And she just disappears him.
Oh, and that's never brought up through the entire movie. How she wishes this poor hot nerd out of existence
into oblivion,
and then just disappears for the entire movie.
Yeah,
She mentions it casually to Brad or whatever, and he's just like, I guess maybe we should look into that. I don't know. There's no acknowledgement.
No, he is in the Phantom Zone. Like,
Yeah,
for
and
the rest of
I
his
think
life.
that's what's funny about this movie when I watch it now is that there is this dark malice underneath the story that's never really addressed, that Louise is the most powerful woman in the world. If she fully harnesses these powers, it's just like there's some dark shit going on.
Absolutely.
And meanwhile, Tangina is kind of giving her shady advice of there's no moral code to being a witch. She's just
Right.
love potions, sure.
She gets
Have
to
'em be your
redo her
slave.
house, and she doesn't want to redo the spell because she'll have to undo having fully redone her house. With the,
So is that the thing that now that she's working with Louise, like, are her spells more powerful?
Louise is her battery. Because there's a part where she's doing the spell to turn the frog into a boyfriend, and she's like, and she touches Louise to like pull the energy out of her.
Got it.
It's mentioned like very casually. No, for any of the amount of exposition in this movie, they are not clear about how Louise works.
Right? No, yeah,
to her idea.
Yeah. I also think the whole like water thing was a little kind of amorphous too. I was like, why does the money like start to melt? But she made a point of saying like, because you're new, your spells are still weak, and like even water can undo them. But I'm assuming like as she grows in her power, then the water won't be a thing anymore, and the money will like stick around. So I was thinking, yeah, she's like now like Madame Serena's like making cash out of nowhere and doing, and she came in with like this like new wardrobe and all this stuff, and so she's getting something out of this. But
yeah, she's like a manager.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's taking her 15%.
Maybe
we
a
were
little
talking.
more.
We were talking the other night that like Robin Lively is like Dr. Manhattan level superhero, that she can take over the universe.
Right. Well, this is kind of a mashup of like Can't Buy Me Love and Carrie. You know, like
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you're right with like Dr. Manhattan. Like she can do anything. Like if she could really just do anything if she learns
based on
enough spells.
based on the small things that they're showing us as jokes, you're like, Okay, but really though, that is kind of.
I mean, even like J.K. Rowling, when writing Harry Potter, kind of writes it into the story of, oh, they can't create money out of thin air.
Right.
Like, she kind of has rules when it comes to stuff like that. But for Teen Witch, it's like
no rules.
Anything goes.
Just gas.
No rules.
Right. Well, I think it's maybe part of this story that Madame Serena's like, oh well, fuck yeah, I'm gonna give you a spell, and he will literally be your slave, you know. And I think it's Louise's journey.
It's the character arc, as it doesn't necessarily make her happier.
Yeah, that she's like, well, no, I don't want it.
She
to
turns
be
into the mean girl.
I don't want it to be the potion. I want it to be me that he likes. Right.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And we
so
learned
I guess
that it's
and-
who you are. Just be yourself boldly.
Yeah.
And that's better than magic. And it's not. That's not true. Magic, I would take. If I could get a little magic, I would take that.
At the drop of a damn hat. During the montage of like, oh, she's popular now and like everyone loves her. Scott pointed out the Coke machine with the giant button.
Oh, that sends me back. That takes me back to going to like the Civic Center and roller skating as a kid.
Why is this button so big?
We had that Coke
you're
machine
always
at our high
fascinated with
school.
the Coke machine with the giant Coke button.
Yeah.
It was so big, and if it was, we had one. It was like that giant Coke button, and then like Sprite was so little. There was like a little. Sprite. They're like, you guys can have some Sprite, but Coke's what it's about, you know.
Yeah. The Coke machine that she's at, and there's a line behind her to get a damn soda. Okay, so some of the powers that she exhibits is she just wishes her brother to become a dog,
and it happens.
Well, okay. When she gets home, and I keep forgetting the brother's name.
Joshua Miller.
But the character's name.
Richie.
Richie is making, first of all, a mess. The kitchen is disgusting. There's tomato sauce on the walls. He's making what I assume to be like a giant pizza. Right? And he's like massaging like ingredients into the pizza. You know, and his whole thing is like, he's gross. He'll eat anything. Like, you know. And he's putting all this shit on it.
Yeah.
And it looks fucking disgusting. But when he turns into a dog, and then like the parents get on, and he's like, oh no, like mom's home. She hates dogs. I'm like, but she loves tomato sauce on her kitchen walls.
But she
like,
loves you making a damn mess.
This also does the thing with that scene where, you know, in a movie where they do something like this, where like Richie's a dog now, and now you hear him talking, but they ADR'd it in a much different environment.
Yeah.
And so he just sounds different in a weird way.
Right.
That used to stick with me in a strange like liminal space thing when I was a kid. Like that sort of thing, or like when they would like tape Full House on some location that wasn't where they would shoot normally, so the audio sounded weird. Like for some reason that like really undid me as a child in a way I should probably examine. I don't know what that was about.
Oh no, it's that thing where like the Facts of Life goes to Paris.
Yeah.
And
the cameras are different.
And there's no laugh track.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're still like pausing for jokes.
Right.
And you're
right.
like, what is going on?
Yeah, and the other thing with that is like because they weren't shooting with like in studio cameras, they would shoot with like different cameras, and
film
like,
cameras.
And you're like, what is what universe are we in?
Yeah,
and I didn't know any of the film background to know that's what was happening. I was just like, things are weird.
No, absolutely. I think they pitch his voice up a little bit when he's the dog.
Yeah, because he's a little cat.
He's a little teeny
guy.
dog. Oh my god. Okay, so we haven't talked about the school play and Mrs. Krabappel.
These teachers, with the
Marsha
exception
Wallace.
of Mrs. Krabappel, are bad.
Awful.
They're pretty rotted.
They're fucking bullies. Like I've told this story before, but I went to high school for like one semester in Everett, Massachusetts, and I was new. And the teacher, one of the kids raised his hand and was like, Mr. Infanto, I'm going to beat up the new kid. Just pointed right at me in the class. And the teacher was like, as long as you do it outside of the classroom, I don't care. This was, and he did, the guy beat me up. And this was the teacher in every in every scene in this movie, with the exception of Mrs. Krabappel, who's fortunately given her due.
Yeah. Mr. Weaver needs to be like never teach again. Like he needs to be fired and like barred from teaching ever.
He's removing his clothes at some point.
Well,
and he's walked in on by the principal, I think, or someone in charge.
Yeah.
And he's just still employed. They're like, it's just
take some time off.
He's had a hard day. And here's another thing about the crazy tone of the script is that I think that there's times of this movie that it really wants to be Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes.
Especially when you see the school scenes that they're trying to go for that.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely... They're trying to, like... They don't know where they exist on the fantasy versus, like... You know, like... Fantasy, witch fantasy versus, like, fantasy version of high school versus, real teen movie. It's really bouncing around.
It's all over the place. Yeah. Did you notice that Mr. Weaver's classroom is, like, half a set and half, like, a black box theater?
I was like, why is he's standing on a table, leaning on a table?
Yeah. But then, like, when the camera is facing him, the background is, like, black, like the void. What is so going on? It's too weird. Okay, so there's a school play. She's trying out for the lead against Brad. She has an audition in front of the entire school for some reason, or just the drama class. Nails it. Does not get the lead role. Kiki gets the lead role, who's one of the rivals. And I love how they're announcing the cast. And they're like, as, you know, the male lead, Brad. As the female lead, Kiki. And Louise, you get to be wardrobe.
Immediately after she delivers her scene. They're like, we decided that you would be best for wardrobe.
Wardrobe assistant. So she gets to work with Marsha Wallace, Mrs. Krabappel. Who's, the only adult figure in this movie who gives two shits about...
Louise literally says earnestly, I love you. Like, she loves... It's the only adult besides Dick Sargent that takes any interest in her life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a cute dynamic, but it also gets insane. Like, Louise... like wills her to win the lottery,
and she didn't even buy a ticket. I didn't even buy a ticket.
And she's like, and that's fine, and it just makes sense.
And then I found the ticket, and I was like, work, I won. Oh god. Okay, Scott, you mentioned the high school scenes, and earlier we did talk about the kind of like quasi musical elements.
Sure.
Of this
because
movie.
When they were in post-production or it wasn't testing well, they felt like they needed to drop in some musical numbers.
So
this is really just the end.
When I Like Boys comes on, when I Like Boys comes on, that's really the point of the movie that you're like, what the fuck is going on in this movie?
It feels so. I mean, you see a lot. You see this eventually in like Saved by the Bell. Like Saved by the Bell feels actually kind of like a close-ish binary to some of the weirder things that are happening in this movie. Mm-hmm. Not overall vibe, but just like the fact that you're like, oh, now we're going to like play a song from a boombox and just dance a full number. And you just have to accept that that's part of the reality. And it's not like a fantasy, because we do get the first thing that we see in the movie is a fantasy. It's a dream.
Yeah.
But then you just have people who are like dancing about how much they like boys. This is going to be their cheer. It starts from beginning to end, and they're all doing it, and just Louise is watching them.
Yeah.
Like, she's just sitting watching this full routine.
And it's strange because, like, at some points, they're, like, half lip-syncing. So it's like they're acknowledging the song, but not really. Like, Randa kind of is like, I like boys. Like, she's kind of doing it, but, like, not really. And so it's that thing where you're just like, yes, this is a musical number in a movie, so maybe the song is, I don't know, but maybe it's diegetic, and it's a whole thing of like,
is it going on
cheer,
or is it going on inside her head? And she's just kind of, and she's just thinking about all of this.
But then there's also that thing of like 80s high school movies where these teenage girls are doing all of this in their underwear.
Yeah. Yeah. And There's a part where 3 of the girls bind 3 towels together in front of them as if they're nude behind it,
all
sort
naked
of like
behind it,
walking back and forth. It is, it's great. I think it's nuts. Like, this is the stuff that stuck with me when I'd seen this and just stored it away. And I didn't know what camp was yet.
Right.
And I just, those were the things that, like, camp was so sticky to me. Like, I loved Paul Lynde when I was a kid. And it was just like, because I was like, I like this kind of person. Like, what's this about? Or I like something that's like out of place, out of time, big, loud, like weird, out of place, whatever. And these were the bits that like really stuck with me, where I was like, if I made this up, I'm proud of what I made up in my head.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I feel the same way. Like I said, watching Bewitched with my younger sister, and I always tell this story of that. When I was young, like real young, like 5 or 6 years old, watching Bewitched in reruns and not realizing that they were 25 years old at the time. And so seeing, Dick Sargent looking 78 years old, just being like, oh, what's going on? What happened?
Well, that was the thing too about like being a particular age when everything was in reruns, and not having the internet as like a context device. You would watch something from, I would watch the Monkees all the time, having no idea it was from the 60s. And then you would watch something else that were like, and then like all of the movies in the 80s had like a foot in the 60s and a foot in the 80s. So it was like very difficult at any time to tell where something was from. And you would see, to your point, you'd see Dick Sargent in Bewitched, and then the next thing you'd see him in Teen Wich, and you're like, what happened? Like, I don't understand how time works in media.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's watching, being obsessed with Back to the Beach and seeing Gilligan full costume, as Gilligan, but being an elderly man.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Scary.
This movie still kind of does translate to kids now, because our friend Jennifer showed her girls this movie. Yeah, and her youngest daughter Bella was all about the I Like Boys scene. So it does kind of
she's a cheerleader.
It does still kind of translate to children now.
She's a cheerleader, so of course she would love
I
that
Like
scene.
Boys could, if I might do this next, is I might take a clip from I Like Boys and put it on TikTok and see if it takes off as a sound. Like it could easily relaunch itself into the public consciousness, like entered the right place.
Yeah, totally.
Because like Top That gets all of the attention, as it should. It's great and so surreal and so bizarre and such like rap for whites. Like it's the weirdest thing to put in the middle of a movie. But the other songs deserve attention.
Well, the whole thing with Top That and that character's name is Rhett.
Yes.
Rhett and his friends. That also exists in this very Saved by the Bell space of like, this is rap music. We know rap exists. Right. And it's just that very like, I'm going to run for student body treasurer, and my whole
platform is going to be a rap.
And it's going to start out with, my name is Pete and I'm here to say, like, that.
It's Snow White. It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but told with rap.
Yeah.
You just had to be there for like a decade to know what is being put forward.
I think the composer did a People magazine. They did something for the web where they just talked about the legacy of Top That.
I read this. Yes.
The composer just said that, they just came to me when they were editing the movie that they were like, write us a rap and we're going to put it in the movie. And he's like, oh, okay.
They said, do you write rap? That was the line.
Do you write
rap? And he said, yeah, I guess so.
Supersonic, idiotic, disconnected, not respected. Who would ever really want to go on top that? Such a waste of pretty face, but hanging in your nose face.
Oh my god. Okay. I mean, it's up there with like the Fruity Pebbles rap. There was a commercial they aired for years, and it was Fred and Barney rapping about Fruity Pebbles. And yeah, it's just that thing that's like, that's hip, that's with it, that's what the kids like. And these poor actors in this,
they were just kind of thrown into the deep water and just had to swim with this silly scene.
And to the points that you've already made, the movie was wrapped. Like, it was over. And they called the actors who did not sign up to rap. And they were like, we need you to come. Hey, by the way, it's 3 months later. Hopefully your hair's the same. Can you come and rap for us at each other? And by the way, you're also love interests now.
Yeah. What? Hey, but Rhett also had his like dick rap earlier in sex ed. So I wonder if
he says schlong.
He says tallywhacker.
What is it with these? What is it with these movies and a sex ed scene? It's like I don't ever remember sex ed quite being like this in high school.
I was trying to. I was racking my brain for trying to remember what sex ed was actually like, and I couldn't put my finger on it.
I think that it was our health class when we were freshmen. I remember learning about certain STDs.
Yes,
but we never had the classic like never been kissed. Like we're putting a condom on a banana.
Yeah. We had an AIDS specific one once. It was like we watched the Ryan White story. Like they were like, here's how to not go down that road, but they never put the connection together because we were like, did he get it from a transfusion? And they were like, we're not talking about it. And they're like, if he put a condom on a banana, everything would have been better. Like, okay, I guess that's how we got it. It was not like a part of like a healthy sex conversation.
Sure.
You might. Now, it was like, this will probably kill you, but we won't explain the social politics of why.
Right. Now, are you talking about the Ryan White story made for television movie starring Judith Light?
Of course. And Lucas Haas.
And Lucas Haas,
for sure. Right.
Lucas Haas, who has kind of a connection to Joshua Miller, because I know that Joshua Miller ran with that group.
He was a Pussy Posse?
He was in the Pussy Posse. I think that Joshua Miller just kind of ran with that.
Well, he was part of that
ragtag crew in L.A.
It was the L.A.
All just knew each other.
Yeah, it was the L.A. actors in the 90s.
It was like Leo, Sarah Gilbert.
Oh, my God. I would love to find out. I saw, oh, God, what was it? What was the big movie that...
Kid 90?
No, I saw, frig, what was it? It had Margot Robbie. It came out last year. Like, not a lot of people liked it. It was like 3 hours long.
Babylon?
Yeah. Yes. And I would like to know that like Josh Miller was in that too, because when I saw Toby and Lucas Haas together, I literally in the theater was like, Pussy Posse. Like, I was so happy to see them in one place.
I love that.
But I think that Joshua Miller kind of has vague connections with all of them. They knew each other.
That's great.
Yeah. Great. That is wonderful, dude.
And so it really just adds a little flavor to imagining them all hanging out with him, like all the way to the side, like the Peter Lorre to their rat pack.
Oh my God!
I'm so glad.
Joshua Miller, we love you. Come on the show.
Yes.
I think he's gay.
I think he is. Actually.
Yeah, obvious. I mean,
Yep.
He's a little too vaudeville in this to not
in the full bellboy uniform. I took the liberty of ironing your homework.
Louise! What? I prepared you a wholesome breakfast. Your morning paper. I took the liberty of ironing your homework. Thank you, Richard.
Every line, we're just like, I just want to rewind everything and just watch him again.
Yeah, he's certainly the best part of this movie.
A dog. Very Peter
He's
Lorre.
like, it's funny because it's like he's in One Crazy Summer, but in this movie.
Yes.
He's in a different movie, and I like that a whole lot.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I love One Crazy Summer. This one does not care for Better Off Dead, so I haven't even.
I like the little brother. I like the little brother in Better Off Dead. How to pick up trashy women.
Badger. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't even tried with One Crazy Summer because it's like the same writer director. So I'm like, it's just even kookier. But
yeah. They're like, what if Better Off Dead wasn't as smart? Like they were like, that's the pitch for you never seeing One Crazy Summer.
Yeah, absolutely.
One Crazy Summer, is that Demi Moore?
John Cusack and Demi Moore.
Okay.
Yeah, she plays like a proto Burning Man gal. That's like what her whole vibe is. She's gonna love Burning Man.
She's got a suede jacket with fringe on the
it's
on the
great.
arms. Okay, so yeah, the brother's great. We love every scene he's in. We quote it often. Let's see. We talked about I Love Boys. Okay, we were talking about Top That and how kind of wild that is.
11th hour thrown together in post.
So Scott and I are watching this movie, and every time Polly is on screen with Louise, Scott was just like, "Are you getting like Broad City? Like, are you getting like Alana Glazer?"
I get a lot of Alana.
Yeah.
I want to
For
see
sure.
I want to see a shot by shot remake of this movie with Alana and Abby.
I just last week finished rewatching it, and like you can rewatch Broad City for those.
I'm rewatching it right now.
watching it
Yeah,
right
you
now.
can
I'm on
rewatch
season
the whole
4.
thing in like 10 minutes. It's like surprisingly not a lot of real estate for a show that had 5 seasons.
Yeah.
It's so great. You're absolutely right. I could see that in a really, really big way.
It's just because I'm in the middle of a rewatch. He comes home and I'm just like, "Hey, it's on."
I could even see Abby as a Louise.
As Louise,
remake
absolutely.
this movie with those two in it.
As
Shot
adults,
for shot.
As adults in high school, do not de-age them. Just
It won't be different from what they did in this movie.
It will not make a difference at all.
It would be perfect. I love it. And then what's the guy who's their friend and roommate? What's that guy's name?
Oh yeah,
Jaime?
Bevers?
Jaime, yeah, Jaime.
I'm thinking of he should play the brother. That would be great. I'm in.
Yeah. Okay.
Bevers would play the brother.
Oh, Bevers
Would
would
play the
actually.
brother.
You're right. Bevers is a better fit for the brother.
Under the bed. Oh my. Yeah, because he's constantly like in Louise's or in Abby's room.
The thing that stuck with me from watching this, and again, it's just like in my brain, and I don't know how to access it ever again because our video store didn't have it, so I didn't I asked people, and I didn't know its name. So what are you gonna do? And and again, like I watched this one time. I remember exactly watching when I watched it because it was before YMCA camp, and I hated YMCA camp so much. I hated being with just these. I hated it the most, and so I watched this, and it was so refreshing. I was like, "This is so much better than YMCA camp." And the scene that stuck with me forever was the voodoo doll scene, where she makes a voodoo doll, does not adhere to any even just like Hollywood voodoo rules. It's just whatever you do with the voodoo doll's clothes or whatever conditions you put it in, it goes through them. So Shelley Berman takes off all of his clothes in front of the class, has to go home. Has his clothes back on. The mom puts the voodoo doll in the wash, which leads Shelley Berman to walk into a car wash. Just as a person. And I don't know why that did it for me, but like that
Comedy gold.
so good. So I was like, oh no, in the wash, what's gonna happen? He's walking into a car wash. Great.
Perfect. This tracks. But also, I feel like Mr. Weaver really deserves this comeuppance. So I'm just like,
should get
I'm here.
hit. Someone should punch that guy. Like he takes out her birth control.
Oh my God.
And is like waves it in front of the class. He should get sued.
And I think he makes a joke about like all of them being there or something. Like, all of them accounted for. Like, what?
Yeah,
this is harassment, sir.
It's real not great. And she's like, you better. She has her Carrie moment with him.
Yes.
Like, you better cut it out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he gets it.
Why is Louise on birth control? Is it hormonal? Just like,
well, I mean,
maybe regulating.
Just to get, yeah. Because it seems like mom is just not really that invested in Louise's.
Yeah, I don't think Louise fucks yet. Like she doesn't see. Like she's still new to the. She's still new to everything.
Well, speaking of teenage lovemaking, can we talk about the fuck shack in Griffith Park? When I see Louise like walking barefoot on that carpet,
this squatter's house,
that is probably like a crack den. First
of all, at some point this was a domicile. Someone was this. There's a structure somewhere in Los Angeles.
It looks like kind of a cute house. You could definitely flip that.
I'm sure it's been flipped.
Yeah, by now. My point is, there's probably a street that goes right up to the front of it. He parks at the bottom of a hill that's complete brush, rocks, scorpions, and she has to walk up in these white office pumps and probably no stockings, nothing.
No.
And I mean, and at first I was like, bitch, she's got to walk up that. And then they actually show it, and they show her like, oh my God, what am I doing? and now we're inside of this burnt out crack den.
And this actor is fully giving teenage modeling shots.
Yeah.
of how they're posing him.
Well, it becomes a music video at this point of just it's no longer in the realm of reality. Now it's just very, dreamlike quality. But they do that thing where he's just he's leaving articles of clothing throughout
Yeah. It reminds, what's that horror movie that Robert Englund directed? It's the only one that he directed. I don't know, but it has a very similar dreamlike vibe that movie does.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to make a reference, only a half of a reference, because I don't know the whole part, but it feels like this isn't in the same movie. This is another thing where...
No, it absolutely does feel like it's a different movie.
What were you...
976 Evil?
Yes! Have you seen that?
I've never seen this.
I have seen 976 Evil. I didn't even realize Robert Englund directed it.
I
was
like
a kid
it a
when I saw
whole lot. It's very weird.
I'll track this down.
In a great way. It's
it has
strange.
Evil Ed from Fright Night in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
You'll have a good time. It might not be your favorite, but you'll have a good time.
Yeah, I definitely remember it, but I was a kid when I saw it, so I only watched it 1 or 2 times. But this scene is insane. She does take off the pumps and walks up the stairs on a carpet, and
barefoot on this gross carpet.
Awful. And I guess,
are they having sex?
I was going to say it's left up to our imagination. What do they go through with?
Yeah, I don't know. What the. Again, this is the thing that this movie feels a little more risque than Saved by the Bell, because nothing even ever hinted at being more than a kiss on that show. It was so safe.
Right. Yeah.
And there is sex in this universe, but I don't know how close any of our characters are to it.
Yeah.
Well, Brad hasn't even broken up with his girlfriend yet.
No, Brad never breaks up with Randa, does he?
Yeah. So he's just cheating on her with Louise.
Yeah.
Which, I guess is fine because, fuck her. So,
okay. When she is riding her bicycle home in the dead of night on this empty street, and Randa's forcing herself on Brad as he's driving, so he kind of...
Oh, she's going to give him a road...
She's trying to give him
trying to give him roadhead.
She's trying to give him roadhead in his goddamn 5.0 convertible Vanilla Ice style. The ugliest Mustang ever to have existed. He drives Louise off the road on her bicycle, right? And he's really sorry, and he's not even under her spell yet. He's like, oh my God, he's fully taking full responsibility. So you kind of see that Brad's a good guy, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh man, I'm really sorry, right? And she's super embarrassed, rightly so. I would be mortified. But he's just let me give you a ride home. And she goes, no, I don't need a ride home. And Randa in the car goes, she's fine.
She said she's fine,
go.
Brad.
Randa lives across the street from Louise. And she knows this.
Extremely important point. A very important point.
What common, decent human being would be like, oh my God, get in the car. We're going to my house anyway. What are you doing?
Randa sucks. For anyone who's keeping score, Randa's
even
bad.
if you're not friends with somebody, but you're like, oh, I go to school with them. That's my neighbor. Do you want to ride? It's fully midnight and you're on a bicycle. Let us take you home.
The moral of this movie, we've already touched on it a little bit, is she's already kind of a freak at her high school because she's too young. And in order to overcome it, just be yourself. But we only get 6 minutes of be yourself. Like it doesn't make any sense that it pays off. Like really what paid off was spells. Spells pay off. Spells give you a little advantage so that when you start being yourself, like you have some footing. But this does not dare to have an actual moral or a message, and I like that a lot. It tries at the end, but it's like, but you saw the rest of the movie. You know what we're all about.
I mean, they didn't I think the extent to which they tried to come up with this witch mythology for this
I have a lot of questions about this book.
With photocopied
book with like photocopied pictures.
So
because like clearly we get Tangina, we get Zelda, but then just Lady as
okay, so the thing is Louise finds this piece of jewelry at school in the costume bin.
This MacGuffin of the plot.
Yeah.
The amulet.
And Mrs. Krabappel is like, "Ooh, this is really old. Like, just keep it. Like, we don't need it for, like, costumes for plays. Like, it looks good on you. Keep it." Okay, great. Louise keeps it. Madame Serena is like, "Oh, you found your amulet or whatever. That's
this amulet that's just in a trunk in this drama."
But that was witchy powers.
So did the amulet, like, find her?
Yes.
Okay.
So then Madame Serena's like, "Okay, I'm going to lay it all out for you now," but doesn't lay it all out at all. I guess witches just constantly reincarnate.
Yeah,
because
the lore needs a couple other follow-ups.
When she shows the images, she's like, "Look, that's you, and that's me from like the 17th century,
from like the Puritan days."
And it's but Serena says her name is Serena then. But it also said that she died. We paused it. It also said that she died.
But why is there photos?
Well, and
because it's a witch book.
And what's her name? The Zelda says at some point that she's been 16 4 times.
Yeah.
So we assume, but she's not a witch. She's a fortune teller. That's confusing. But yes, there is a something where it's like there's reincarnation and it's like regular.
Yeah.
It comes to you. It finds you.
Yeah. And the other thing was that like the picture of Serena from like the old Salem witch trial days was clearly her. But then when she's like, "Oh no, this is you," it was like an adult woman. But I mean, I guess it's that thing of just like that's who you're going to grow into be, like in TV shows and movies where they age them up and it's a different actor. But yeah, it was just they tried to like be like, okay, look, we put it here's some backstory, here's some lore, here's some like history. But
yeah, this is why Teen Wolf was better served with like your dad's a werewolf, you're a werewolf. That's the end of the explanation. Like you don't need. But I also kind of see why these things are gendered in the way that they are. Like that, this idea that like you're a man with a temper, and now you're a boy with a temper, and you inherited that from me. And then with like witches, there's like all like manifesting and sort of like learning how to be in it makes sense for like a quote like gender journey that like that's the direction that they're going in. Extremely hard to explain lore-wise for some reason. They just couldn't handle where there's one extra dynamic. They're like, I don't know if we're ready for this. I don't know if we fully wrote this scene. Let's put in a dance number.
There you go. There you go. And and I think it's the same thing with the overall like theme, I guess, of like you don't need the spells after all. Like if you just are true to yourself.
But doesn't she kind of need the spells though?
Well, that's what
I know. Yeah.
The spells were really helpful for a while.
Very helpful.
They were, she would walk down the street. She'd look so fashionable. All the cars would pull over and say, "Get into the car with us because you're so cool." Seems not great, actually.
No.
Do you think that it's kind of a missed opportunity of the script not to include the friend that she's a witch?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it kind of is.
Yeah. I guess I never thought about that.
Like, why not? Why did they not bring her in?
Yeah, why doesn't she tell Polly?
I completely never thought about that until right now.
Again, that's the thing where it's like if your powers are kind of invisible. Like if you're a wolf, there's no hiding it. You're a wolf.
Right.
But if you're a witch, it's easier to hide. But why? It doesn't make any sense. Is it just because they need, like, all of these movies where someone gets popular, there's always an arc where,
Right.
oh, you don't have time for me anymore. Like, you're not
too
the
cool
same.
now.
You're too cool. We couldn't have had that before. Like, the Can't Buy Me Love, like, now you're an asshole.
Yeah.
But no, why? Why did they not tell Polly? How does Polly not know?
Yeah, that maybe they weren't that good of friends after all.
It doesn't make sense that Polly doesn't know. Like she knows her. She knows that she's not just suddenly popular. I mean, I guess it would be hard if you didn't know that witches existed. Like you wouldn't just assume that someone was a witch. Mm-hmm. But I would.
But you would assume that something's up.
Yeah, something's going on. Tell me what's going on. Instead, she just takes it to heart because she's, like the rest of us, deeply insecure.
Yeah. And it's not even a thing that, like, she becomes Brad's girlfriend, so then everybody starts liking her. They just like her for no reason.
It's just suddenly. They can't get enough of her. The rap crew raps at her. It's
Louise mania.
And again, just like school. She's not like, why suddenly is everybody? Why do they find you infectious? Like that's
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, this movie is full of like '80s fashion, and it's great. And some of it, you know, obviously, you're going to be like, "Well, that looks funny. That looks a little kooky. Whatever." That like cone clip, the cone hair clip that's like off to the side at an angle.
Yeah,
that. I don't even know if that looked good then. What is going on? That's the one thing that they're like, this is what everybody's going to do. That's what everybody's going to copy.
Well, this movie's
is the cone clip.
This movie's at such a transitional time of the 80s where a lot of that fashion was getting dated as they were making it. And then by the time the movie comes out in 89, even audiences at the time were like, this movie's crazy.
So are you saying a skirt with a denim yoke and like a white bottom is not timeless?
And this was also just like such a specific time in women's hair.
Sure.
With regard to just which direction and how much volume bangs had, and then what oppositional direction the rest of the hair was going. It was such a specific like 4-year window where this was happening. Claw bangs were happening.
Yeah. The half up, half down.
Frizz, up, down. And this movie is rich in that.
Yeah. And that's something that 80s movies never get right. They never get the hair right of hair.
I hate most representations of the 80s in movies.
Yeah.
I hate them. They're like nothing's ugly enough. Like I really like Barbarian. Barbarian did it really well. It's like it's a kind. They show us kind of store that you just wouldn't want to go in now. Like, that's what it was like. Or I like Bones and All very much. It's like, you know, people are just making tragic choices. Like that's what it was really like. It was tragic, not Dayglow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they wouldn't dare put Maya Hawke with like 80s hair on Stranger Things. Like they wouldn't even want to go there, even though they kind of did that with Barb in season 1.
Yeah, that's why I think that's why Barb had such staying power.
That's why that character landed so hard in season 1. Is that she did look like she was from the 80s.
That's what a great point. That's so true. That's where the show lost me with no Barb. Is I was like, now that we're doing fantasy 80s, I'm not like so into it. But Barb just like some random, lovely but plain looking person making very bad hair and wardrobe decisions. That was all of your friends.
Yeah. And they never get women cutting their hair that short. That like it was a big choice that a lot of ladies made.
Like the China Phillips?
No, not even the China Phillips. I'm going a little bit more like a Joyce DeWitt, Pat Benatar kind of a thing. Yeah, or like Courtney Cox in the Bruce Springsteen video. You know, it's just a short not really anything styled to a haircut, but it was a choice that a lot of ladies made.
Absolutely.
And
It's easy.
Then they would try to style it, and it would look like Barb.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's not much to go on, and you just have a little flippy bang, and you're like, what's happening? But yeah, this is a very specific time frame. I feel like I'm in like 8th grade, 7th grade. No, 7th grade, I think, in 89. Junior high school. I think that's kind of peak, like, who this is for.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
I think that's people who were born in like the late-ish 70s was the target audience for this movie.
Yeah.
When it came out, I guess.
Yeah. Because also, like I said, when I was a teenager and I watched it, I was like, okay, I think I'm a little too old for this. But if I'd watched this 2-3 years prior, I would have been like, okay, I'm on board with this and everything that's happening.
Yeah, that's the thing, especially at that age, is what you are like. I think I was the perfect age to come into this when it's playing on reruns, because if you catch around that age, like when you're like 12, 13, it's a very small window between like when you'll just watch anything to like when you'll watch stuff that you think represents who you think you could or should be. You know, like it was like a year or so later that I would then be like, I just watched Twin Peaks. You know what I mean? Like but before I'd be like, I watch any garbage that has teens in it. Like that's all I care about. And then not so much time goes by before you define yourself by your taste.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good people.
Yeah.
Bad people didn't care, but I cared.
No, they didn't. Oh my God. Just real quick before we wrap it up, I want to mention the rock star in this movie.
Oh, sure.
What's her name? Shana?
The rock star stuff seems so, like, I don't want to say it's out of another movie.
But this is where Polly is just like, what is going on in your head, girl? Like,
yeah, she says to Polly, I'm going to go see Shana.
Yeah.
We're just going to walk in. This is where the fuck she should have seen that this is a witch situation.
Yeah.
We're just going to go. No frame of reference as to like how I know this person or whatever. And you know what? I have a feeling she's going to give me her jacket. And what does she do? She gives her jacket. That's enough for me to ask very pointed questions.
Yeah. Are you a witch?
What the hell is happening?
Is your uncle an A&R guy? Like what? How?
Yeah.
How?
And the whole thing of like, your name's not on the list. Check again. There it is. Like what?
In different handwriting. He doesn't have a single question in the world about that.
No.
It's written. I just wrote the list. He said.
Yeah. I think this bouncer should have stood his ground and not let him in.
No, this is obvious trickery. I just wrote the list. It's written in someone else's handwriting. No, and he says,
it wasn't there a minute ago.
It wasn't there a minute ago. All right, well that's enough.
On this clipboard that has been in my hand for the full minute.
Right. The whole time. Was Shana, was that a real person? Was that an actual thing?
I think she's, no. And I'm assuming this is who's singing the opening song.
Because it's the same song.
It's the same song?
Yeah. Okay. It's a different recording of that song. Because it's like there's a little bit of different arrangement, but it's the song covered. I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, this section of the movie, while I don't think it feels like it's out of a different movie, I do kind of wonder, how the hell do we get here?
Yeah.
This was the moment. This was like the peak moment where movies were like, if we want to appeal to kids, we just have to literally just be MTV. Like,
yes,
there have to be songs throughout. There have to be essentially dance numbers. It has to go
full Kids Inc.
Kids Incorporated.
We have to go to a concert. There has to be a backstage element to the concert. Like these are all things that then become like sitcom staples.
Yeah. Ends on a dance.
Yeah. They all do.
Movie ends at a dance.
They all do.
They all do.
I think it's jarring of when this movie just cuts the credits of, this is done.
It's over.
It's over. We're out of the story.
We're done.
When Louise walks into the dance and we get a full reveal, like head to toe, this dress that she's wearing with the biggest shoulder pads. That I'm just watching going, that is a woman.
Yeah.
I don't know what age Louise is supposed to be.
Whose aunt was invited.
Yeah.
She looks great. In the
She looks
Yeah, she looks great.
They do a
amazing.
good job by being like, okay, be yourself, and she's finally
Yeah.
herself. She looks the best that she's ever looked. She's confident. She looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like
That
aspirational.
dress is snatched on her body. It is like, jeez. Every dress that she wears has like the peplum skirt
Yeah.
over, like.
I mean, if you were going to be
over a
dressing, if
tube
you're going to be
skirt.
dressing a fashion doll from the
Yeah,
mid '80s, it would look like
Yeah.
Louise.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult. Again, like this is just like you need like time context about like how things were, but like I don't think people of a particular age, meaning younger than me,
Yeah.
realize that like for a long ass time you just got your clothes from your parents. Like your
Yep.
parents would go and they would pick whatever thing, and unless you had a job, which wasn't a thing that like everyone was able, just like every kid was able to get or whatever.
Yeah.
You just looked like a slob because of your parents' out of touch taste. Or you'd get my parents, I was a husky boy. And so they would, I just get stuff out of the Bugle Boy catalog.
Yeah.
And you
Oh, I
just looked
love
like
Bugle
them
Boy,
until
though.
you could get stuff at a Goodwill for like 25 cents back in the day. And that was the best you could possibly do. And then that's why everyone in the 90s looked like, quote, alternative. Because the only way that you could buy interesting clothes was you had $1 and you could go to Goodwill and get like the biggest pair of pants you've ever seen. But yeah, that's her plight. Her plight isn't just like she can't. She's not able to wear the things that she wants. These things are not accessible to her. You need to be a witch to have them.
You need to be a witch. Well, and that's
Before the internet,
and that's
you
the
need to be a
thing.
witch.
You need to be a witch.
And that's the thing is that I kind of look over to Pete and I'm like, how is she affording this outfit? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. She can create money out of thin air. So it's, I mean,
Or maybe just the dress.
The script has already answered it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like if it's a great marriage of skills. It's like be yourself, yes, but be a witch to create money so that yourself can spend on things that look great. I want that skill set.
Yeah, I mean, that would be an amazing skill set. Couldn't she just conjure the dress? Or is she going through the steps of making the money to go shopping? I don't know. I think
It's a great question. That wasn't resolved in any of the montages.
no. Yeah, not at all.
Real bummer.
But yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess the whole thing is that in the end, she gets Brad based on her personality, I guess.
Yeah.
No longer under the spell. Does he eventually break up with Randa? Maybe. This was also a time when she's a redhead and it kind of doesn't matter. I feel like it's kind of like quote unquote like
strawberry blonde.
No, I'm not going strawberry blonde. This is auburn.
Well, she's
This
not.
is
I understand.
Auburn.
I understand both of your points. Is like this. They talked about this on the How Did This Get Made? She's not a Pippi Longstocking redhead. She's a
Sure, yeah.
but she's not a. She's certainly not. Yeah, she's like somewhere in the acceptable middle.
Well, but
as society goes, I love it. I'm not saying shit.
I was going to say my point was I don't remember when that. I know that kind of in like UK, it's a little bit different. That's always kind of been an ongoing thing with like gingers and societal norms or whatever. But I feel like in the 80s it wasn't really that. Although maybe just because I'm not, so I wouldn't have affected me. But yeah, I feel like all of a sudden there was this whole kind of like, was it South Park? Did South Park ruin it for redheads like in society?
Oh, I don't know.
In the U.S. society, at least.
Well, there was Harriet around this time. There was Harriet, who was the enemy in Small Wonder, and she had red hair.
Yes.
And I feel like that was an indicator.
Absolutely.
The bully from A Christmas Story.
The kid from Problem Child.
Yep.
Yeah, but Harriet was a redhead. Also, alongside Jenny Lewis in True Beverly Hills, and she was the lead character.
Sure.
Yeah, she was
That
the lead.
was like the Redhead Avengers.
Yes, it really was.
True Beverly Hills was
Shelley
Redhead
Long.
Avengers.
Shelley Long came out with that hair. I mean,
Oh
come
my
on.
god. Yeah. This was
a
a movie that at the bottom of I don't know where when I looked up Teen Wich it was like people also like and True Beverly Hills was number one.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think they were made roughly about a year apart.
I can see that.
Yeah, movie as a genre, movie for girls was a whole ass genre. They had not necessarily anything in common. It just like we thought of the girls this time.
Sure.
And
Girls sleepover cinema.
Yes, that's exactly right. And those were all of my favorites. They really were. I was like, I feel at home in the interests put forth in this movie.
Right.
I was going to ask what would be on your tape that you got off cable, and it has to be Teen Wich going into Troop Beverly Hills.
That'd be a good one.
Oh my god!
I would rewatch that VHS.
That's a perfect. I feel like as a third, although this comes later, but like as a third, and you all have already mentioned it, is the Craft or Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The movie. I never saw the show. I know that's a highly controversial statement, but I loved the movie Buffy.
Same.
So I loved every, like, people talk about The Mummy as like bisexual awakening. I loved every person in that movie, from Rutger Hauer to Kirsty. Like, I just and then our cat, like, everyone is so fucking hot in that movie.
Yeah,
and its interests are fascinating. I love it.
I have a very controversial opinion that I do not share a lot with people, but I prefer Christy Swanson's Buffy. I know that she's kind of not a very fun person to talk about, but I think she fucking rocks in that movie.
I don't know, because I don't have the comparison, but I love that portrayal so much. I wanted to be her.
And you get the really satisfying character arc of Buffy too in the movie. I guess that you get it in the show, but it's not as satisfying as it is watching a movie.
Yeah, I agree. Oh God, I love that movie. I owe that movie a lot. It was great. It was great. And I feel like I don't fully understand where it landed after Ruben's whole, when he was ambushed by set up and ambushed by the police. But as I recall, it felt like it was like the first thing he was given an opportunity in after. And I remember like being a kid and being like, good, I'm glad he's back.
Yeah. I remember at the time, my big takeaway was just how different Luke Perry not only looked, but the character that he was playing from 90210, because that's all we had of him. That was our first kind of Luke Perry intro, and it's fine. Dylan McKay, hot, but Pike,
get out of here,
so hot. Everyone in that movie is hot.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Go watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, listeners.
Immediately.
Go back and listen to our episode on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's what I'm going to do immediately after I'm done.
Please do.
I'll watch the movie at night so I can see it on the screen, but I'll listen to your show.
There you go. I think that movie's pretty well lit.
Yeah, definitely.
All the mall scenes. Oh man,
it's perfect.
Well, we should probably start wrapping this up.
Alex, did you want to talk
this was a lot of fun,
a little bit about your podcast?
Oh, sure. You Are Good is a feelings podcast about movies. We're not movie critics. We talk about the movie itself, but then like what feelings it evokes and what it reminds us and what it speaks to in our humanity. That seems way loftier than it really is. They're really fun. They're really fun conversations, but we're not like, we don't pretend to be critics. We just talk about like what the movie spoke to in us as people.
I would say this movie evokes, like you mentioned, girl cinema. This is what you're going to watch with your gal pals. This is what you're going to be renting from the video store on a Friday night.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of those things that it was like, this is what you should be into. Like, we as a movie are going to tell you what you should be into. And I ate it up.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, do you want to push your socials on people so we can find you?
Sure. I'm at You Are Good or You Are Good Pod at any of the places where social media happens. And then I, Alex Steed, am at Alex Steed wherever social media happens. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this show, I think you will like our show.
Awesome. Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you
This
so
was
much.
so much fun.
I had the most fun. This was great. I would talk with y'all about anything, anytime.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Same thing. Same here. We would love to have you on again in the future.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
Yeah. But until then, we'll bid you adieu for now, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thanks, man.
See you later, Alex.
Thank you. So long.
And thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Fun episode.
Yes. Really, really fun episode. This movie is, was it streaming on Max?
It's on HBO.
Yeah,
It's on,
streaming
Max. Excuse me, Max.
Yeah, stop saying it. Out of date. But, yeah, you can go watch it on Max if you don't already have the VHS or digital copy. But, yeah, it's a fun movie. We definitely recommend it. But I think it's just about that time in the
Patreon
episode.
shout-outs?
It is time for some Patreon shout-outs. So we would love to say hello and thank you to all of our wonderful patrons, including Tammy, Roberto, Brett, Tren, Daisy, Kelly, Chrissy, Stephen, Jake, Desiree, Laura, Thomas, Lori, Brenna, Jessera, the 45, Lawrence, Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Millie, Ted, Benny, Jamel, Melanie, Susan, JJ, Shelby, Jamie, Drew, Genevieve, Dawn, Joshua, Emily, Aaron, Nick, and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino. You guys.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You will get a lot of fun stuff when you sign up for a Patreon. We are doing television every month. October, we did My So-Called Life, and there will be one out around the time this episode comes out for November.
Coming through for November. We're still deciding on what show we're going to watch.
You'll get the 2 episodes of television that we've done, TV That Made Us Gay, and you will get all of the Watch With Us commentaries if you are a $10 and above level.
Yes, over 30 commentary tracks that you can sync up with the movie to watch the movie along with us, or you can just listen to it as a bonus episode, just as you normally would. They're just as fun. But we give you instructions on how to sync up the track to the movie, and it's really cool. So head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay for more information on that. And we'd also love it if you would subscribe on any of the podcast platforms. If you want to rate and review the show, Apple Podcasts and Spotify listeners, you can give us a 5-star rating, and we would love that. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, you can write us a review, and we'll read any new reviews that we get. We just got a new one that we haven't read yet.
I have it right here, Pete.
Oh, why don't you read it?
It's called Two Guys in a Podcast. In a world of mediocre podcasts, one man married another man, race back in time to analyze and discuss films that, for whatever reason, have struck with so many Dorothy's friends after all these years. Each episode is like a love letter being slid under the closet of my childhood, acknowledging and finally talking about all the things I wished I could have discussed back then. Pete and Scott not only offer up engaging and entertainment commentary with equally hilarious guests, but they are also offer critical and insightful thoughts and recommendations showcasing their genuine love and appreciation of all things film. 2 French tipped thumbs way up. That's
awesome.
So sweet.
Thank you so much. That is from Apple Podcast
and that
listener.
is from Tommy BG 1107.
Awesome. Yeah, we love all those reviews. They take no time at all to write. They're free. If you have an iPhone, Apple Podcast is pre-installed. Look up podcasts, search our show, write a review. Go do it now. You can follow us on socials. We are pretty much on all the socials. We are at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram and Facebook. We're on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Threads.
We're on all of them.
MTMUG Pod. Go check that out. But we're most active on Instagram. We just got 3,000 followers. My goodness, you guys. We made it to 3,000 on Instagram, and we hope to get even more. So thank you so much for listening, following along, and all that fun stuff. If you want to follow our personals, feel free. I'm Pete. I'm at Peter Lasagna on Instagram. And
I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.